guys, Nicholas Lawrence here with Hansen Chen Productions, and we're here to talk about Swiss key. So as you guys seen from the trailer, it's something super visual, super impossible, and has a ton of applications. I think that's one of the best parts to the Swiss key, is that it's not only just one trick or one type of trick, but it's multiple tricks. And I'm excited to teach you guys all the different handlings and all the different applications now. But before we get to that, I want to talk about how this was not an easy feat. This was something that I've created years ago, and it only took Hansen Chen and the team, including Hansen himself and Calvin Liu, particularly, who spent a lot of time in actually figuring out how to make this a reality. Because though it seems to be kind of a simple gimmick with just magnets and magnetic plates, to get that realism and the functionality to work the way it does took a lot of work. So I do want to personally thank them, and also thank you guys for joining us here in purchasing Swiss key. So I guess with all that said, let's go ahead and dive into what's next. Let's take a look at what you receive in the box. Alright, so you get this beautiful packaging. As you might notice, mine is just a prototype. Yours is actually going to be the official packaging, which will look even more beautiful. But of course, this is going to serve as a way to store your gimmicks. So let's take a look at what you've got inside the box. So one of the first things you're going to see is the gimmicked key, which is here, a key ring, and a normal key. But we'll get back to those in a moment. And let's just focus on the actual Swiss key gimmick so you guys can see exactly what this is and how it works. Now I will say it's very important to watch everything, guys. Watch the whole tutorial before you really use this. But you can see the normal way that this functions is essentially if you squeeze the whole portion of the key, you'll notice one side has a plate that actually, it's a two-part gimmick that can actually slide out. So if you push on the hole and push forward, you'll see that piece comes out, right? And this is a magnetic plate that once it's in there, it's very, very hard to discover it unless you know the secret, which is to push and slide. Also, you're going to notice there is a little sticker inside of here, which looks a lot like the plate itself. So that way, for just casual performance, you don't have to worry about showing both sides of the key, and you can just kind of flash that, which is a nice little touch. There's also a little bit of a foam insert in here. This just takes care of the depth and makes it look natural, but also when the plate is in here, it's going to create a little bit less shadow and just kind of blending that. So it's a small detail, but it does add to it slightly. But yeah, this is the Swiss key gimmick. Let's take a look at the main effect for Swiss key. So you're going to need a couple of things. You could borrow a bill, or you can provide your own. Okay? And we also need a key. So I'm just going to remove one key from my key ring here. I'm going to create a very strong illusion. It's going to look very convincing that with this bill, I position it just right, and I take the key, I can actually make it look like this key goes straight through the bill. Watch. You can see it going straight through. And actually, really watch it, because you can see it actually come straight out. Now it even sounds convincing, and I'm sure you really believe there might be a hole here. If I just rub like this, I can get the hole to completely heal up, leaving us with a completely ordinary bill and a seemingly pretty ordinary key. That was the main bill penetration effect. Now let's learn the main effect with the Swiss key, which as you've seen was the bill penetration effect. So this is a very visual effect, and you're going to learn other variations of this, but let's stay focused on this handling that you just seen. So you're gonna need a key off the key ring, right? And just a little important detail here is you do wanna kind of be a little bit careful when removing your gimmick. So I make sure that the key ring is pushed down all the way, so that way you can very carefully remove this. You don't wanna be dragging this off or grinding it across its edges, you know, to really take care of your prop. So just be gentle when removing it. Okay, you're here. You know, if you want, you can actually put this in the spectator's hands, not to be examined, but just for them to hold it. You can say, oh, hold the key for a moment. Okay, great. And that's when maybe you pull out the bill, great. Take the key back. Again, check out the bill, make sure it's normal. Okay, these are all opinion based if you want to do those kinds of things. But let's just stay focused on the actual handling. So one of the first things I do is I pinch the bill like this. I'm actually folding it with my first finger in the middle, my thumb on the back, right, and my second finger on the front, creating this kind of position here. So you can see that again, I'm here, and that's all I'm doing. I'm just holding it in this position. The next thing I do is I just kind of do a simple crease, like this. Now, it doesn't matter if it's perfect, that's really not important at all, but it is important that it has a little bit of crease, which kind of reduces the size of the gap here. Because without a crease, it stays open too much. A simple little crease, it's gonna help you out with your angles, and it's gonna make the illusion look a lot more convincing. So, the next thing, right, the most important bit, we're gonna actually make it look like it's going through the bill. So how you do that, the first thing you're gonna do, okay, is you wanna take the key and very kind of secretively, you don't want them to see you're doing this, but just give the key a squeeze like this. Now, just by squeezing it and feeling it, you're gonna be able to tell which side the gimmick plate is on, right? So sometimes when I'm performing this, I get lost and I don't know which side is which, but just before I do the effect, right, just as I'm talking, even this is a great time to do it, tap, tap, you can just squeeze the gimmick, just squeeze and release, right? And that's gonna be able to give me a good feel if it's on the back or the front. So in my case, it's in the back. We don't want it on the back, I want it in the front, right? I want this plate here, I show you guys, there it is. I want that to be in the front. So in my case, it's in the back. I give it a little squeeze. All I'm gonna do is now rotate and tap again. That's it, now I know I'm set, okay? Now, another little bit of a tip before I really get into the final details is make sure this is a nice crisp bill, okay? If it's not, you're gonna have a hard time with this particular handling. So just keep that in mind, right? So even for this, I've already performed it with this bill. I'm gonna reverse the fold to give myself a nice clean edge. So where would that be? We'll go with this edge over here. It's a nice clean edge, looks pretty good, okay? And yeah, so when you're here, again, you know how to hold it, you know about the crease, you know about locating the plate and making sure it's in the right orientation. Now we're gonna actually go for the effect. So as you've seen, I tapped the bill a couple of times, and now you've got two options here. You can either just go right for this, how I do it. I just squeeze, and basically after I tap twice, on the third tap, I just move the key back slightly, right? And what's happening here is you're going to just slide it along the bill. And what's gonna happen with a nice crisp bill, you're gonna catch that gimmick right into the gimmick there. You're gonna catch the edge of the bill right into the gimmick like this, and you're just gonna push. Once you know it's there, you're gonna push all the way in. Now sometimes it might get caught up here, but that's okay. You can grip the bottom of the key and pull it down, whatever you need to do, but get it all the way inside the bill, because that's gonna look very convincing, like it's actually penetrated through the bill, okay? Now if I go back, like I said, you can do one of two things. You can either squeeze and push through and just catch it like I do it most of the time, or you can push and slide forward ever so slightly. What that's gonna do is it's actually gonna widen the gap. It's gonna make it a little bit easier to catch it, but you don't wanna be in this position for very long. You wanna tap, tap, press, right? And as you're coming up, just like this, right when you get to the peak of going down for that effective penetration, boom, right? You're actually going to push forward like this as you're coming down. So this larger motion of moving is gonna cover this little motion of the key gimmick sliding forward, okay? But if you're having a hard time with doing this, just try to open it up, push forward, and go down. Once you've gotten it to this position, you can just let go of your grip. Okay, the magnets are gonna align and everything's gonna look how it should. Pinch and pull down. This is a really nice little moment where they can actually see it's moving through the hole. Okay, just like that. And I usually just do this once or twice, just like that. At this point, you have another two options. You can rip this out to the side, like this, or you can just take it straight out, like this. I personally prefer just to take it straight out versus completely destroying and ripping the bill. If that's your style, you can do that just by going like this, okay? But for me personally, once I am, again, making sure this is a nice crisp bill, okay? When I go through like this and I'm inside the bill, I'm gonna show them the authenticity of it, right? You could even open it up and make sure you use your finger to cover the bottom of the gimmick. Just open it up slightly. You could do something like this, which I think looks really cool, right? By pulling back the layers, not tipping back too far to show how thin the key is, but just enough to show that it's its own object. It's not connected to the bill. And what's happening here is I'm just pinching, pulling this back as I separate the bill back a little bit. I think it's a really nice moment where they see it going through like this. You're here and you're here. It's just a small little thing that I like to do that looks good just before you pull it out of the bill. Okay? At this point, what I like to do is just immediately hand the key to the spectator. Say, oh, can you hold this for a second? Or here, can you hold that for a moment? And hand them the key. So that way you can get right back to the bill and put all your presentation into the restoration. Now, there's always choices with these kinds of effects. Now, you can talk about presentation just being an illusion. That might work for you. Or you can just say, hey, let me show you something interesting, right? And then you're just gonna go into, piercing the bill and make it look convincing that it's not an illusion, right? This is actually, going through the bill. You're here, you're showing them all these subtleties, you're ripping it out, they're holding the key now, and then now you can really milk this moment of you're actually repairing the bill, right? So if it's just an illusion, you would just take this out. So here, hold that, open it up, and show them nothing happened. Or you can make it all about destruction. You're here, you pull it out, you say, here, do me a favor, hold that key for a minute, great. Get here and actually sit here and repair the bill. Very slowly, like this, showing them more and more. And that is it. That is the main effect for Swiss key, and a lot of detail, so I hope you guys enjoy that little bit of information. If you feel uncomfortable with handing your spectator this gimmicked key, and you fear that they're the type of person that's a heckler and they're really gonna wanna start to examine the key, well, I will say that you possibly were doing the trick wrong if they wanna check out the key, because you were so open about putting it in their hand. So you really shouldn't worry about that. But if you do, that's fine. What you're gonna wanna do instead is you can use this opportunity to switch the key for an examinable key. So let's say you've got you've got the examinable key that came in your packaging, you've got that in your pocket. Well, after you remove the key, right, it comes out of the bill. At this point, you can make it all about the bill and involve the spectator. So you can say, here, do me a favor, hold out your hand, right? And when they hold out their hand, you can take this key, just put it into your pocket temporarily, right? When you know that you have another key inside of your pocket, right? Now at this point, you can put this in their hands and you can let them, you say, rub it like this, just rub it together, right? At this point, they're so focused on the bill and that there's no hole in it, right? At this point, you're gonna be getting a great reaction. And of course, right when they're doing that, you can reach back in your pocket and pull out the ungimmicked key. And the cool thing is, it doesn't matter which pocket it comes from. You can have the ungimmicked key in your back pocket or this key in your front pocket, because they're gonna be so focused on this bill that you're not gonna have to worry so much. So do me a favor, don't worry so much. Just worry about performing good magic and enjoying the presentation. And I promise you, your spectators are going to absolutely love this effect. Let's take a look at the second variation of the Swiss key bill penetration. Take a look. Got a bill, and of course a key. So I'm just going to go ahead and remove this from here. Now take a look. I'm going to do this very slowly. I want you to keep your eye on the bill. Now, actually, let me tilt it up like this because I think this is a better view. I really want you to watch that key, because if I take it, place it just about there, and sandwich it inside, okay? Watch this. If I grip here and just pull, see, it actually looks like it's going straight through. Pull it out. Actually, I think I tore it a little bit. It's okay. Watch. Just like that. Unscathed, no holes, and completely examinable. That was the second variation. All right, so let's learn how to perform this second variation. So just like before, you can borrow a bill, you can keep a bill in your wallet, whatever you like, right? And then you're gonna, again, just carefully remove your key. You don't wanna break it. And once you're here, okay, you're able to basically get into this move. Now this is a little bit of a sneaky move that can be a little bit difficult to get into when being watched. I mean, I wouldn't say that this is a great one for social media unless you're pre-set up, which I'll talk about that in a minute. Because what I'm doing here is I'm opening up the gimmick, okay, like this. And you can do this little secret that you learned before, where you can shift forward a little bit. You're gonna get this loaded and sandwiched between the bill. So you're in this position. The real key is in the bottom, the plate is on top, but you don't want them to know that. So that's why you kind of do this towards yourself. And there's always gonna be this little hiccup to this, but that's okay. It's perfectly okay. Again, you're just going to engage the gimmick, slide it forward slightly, and you're gonna sandwich. Now this is all happening behind the cover of your hand, so they're not seeing anything, right? And in a real world performance, this is kind of done in an offbeat. You're just talking about the bill, you're talking about the key's gonna go here, right? And now they don't see anything. If anything, they just imagine you've placed it here, okay? But in reality, again, you've placed it here, sandwiched. At this point, what you're gonna do is, as you now give them visual of what you're doing, you're actually gonna slide this from this position over to here, okay? And that happens as you come down. And the interesting thing is the key actually never moves. It's really the bill. So you're here, okay, and as you come down, you're sliding the bill until you get to this position, okay? It should almost hit your thumb. Your thumb should already be in position and get here. Now, remember, this is just the setup for the effect. So once you're here, you want to actually quickly grip the key, right? Never exposing this, and just shift. You just replace your thumb with your fingers as you come up. So you're actually at a lower level. You can see you start down here, and then you say, well, here, I want you to make sure you really see it. And that's when you're shifting upward. Okay, so now we're in this position, which feels very open. It looks like you're just looking at just a key and a bill. Again, just being careful. If you have a smaller finger, don't use one finger, use two fingers, right? If you feel like your fingers are pretty big like mine, I feel like I can get away with just one finger. And again, this is in this position very quickly, right? So once you're here, you're gonna say, keep your eye on the key. You're gonna pinch the bottom of the bill. Your other fingers are gonna block the bottom half of the key like this, and you're going to slide the key here. Now, if you've been keeping up, you know that this is just the magnetic plate, right? So the actual key is in the back of the bill. So if I go back real quick, you're here, you're covering the key, you're going up, you say keep your eye on the key. Very, very deceptive. They are going to be so convinced that that key is behind your fingers. There's nothing to worry about, I promise you. At this point, you're gonna fold the bill, okay? All right, and what happens here is your fingers are gonna get out of the way as you fold this up. Now this happens very quickly. There might be some case that you can flash something, but because it's a very thin part of the key, they really don't know exactly what they're looking at, right? So this happens very quickly, just here, okay? Now you're in this position. Your first finger's inside, your second finger's on the outside, your thumb is on the back, and you've got this kind of V shape here You're just holding everything together. So when you're in this position, you can see with the first finger and thumb, you're actually holding the key and the plate. Just like that, right? And you're gonna get ready to make it look like that key is gonna kind of puncture through the bill. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna pinch the top, just like this, just very lightly holding the key. This is your main focus. The finger and thumb are holding the key and the plate. This finger in front is just here to make sure that this doesn't expose that the key isn't actually there. So keep that in mind, because when you pinch, you're just gonna slide the key and the plate down like this. But I like to do this in a very abrupt fashion, okay? I want this to look like, you know, you're here, you're getting a real good grip, and then you're just gonna kind of, boom, like this. And it actually should make a little bit of sound. And I think it's nice when it does. So if you're here, you just kind of in a jerking motion. You want it to really look like it's going through. And you don't want to do more than 2 or 3 of those, right? So, right, you're here, you pinch, kind of really get a good grip. 1, 2. Okay, at this point, this should look very convincing. It should look like it's really going straight through. They see it down here. They see all this bill material here. They see the key is still in here. So this is very, very convincing. But to make it look even more convincing, you can grab the bottom of the bill and just slightly go up and down, just a little bit. Okay, just once or twice, like this. This is going to translate very well to your spectators that it truly is going through the bill. At this point, you can also implement that cool little subtlety I taught you guys before, where you slide the key back just a little bit as you go like this. And I think this is just a nice little thing where it really separates the plate from the bill, and it doesn't look like it's ever stuck or magnetically attracted to the bill. It's just a nice way to break up your performance and make it feel more authentic. So keep that in mind as well. Okay, so at this point, you've done some nice little subtleties, right? Now at this point, you can do one of 2 things. I've talked about this before. You can either just rip this out the side, or you can go straight up. If you go straight up, make sure you go really quick. So because you don't want to show them this, right? You can also use your fingers as cover if you want. There's a lot of things you can do, okay? Where it just comes out like this, or you can just kind of go out to the side, okay? Just like this, right? Which makes a nice kind of tearing sound. So now in the spectator's mind, there's a hole and there's a small tear, right? So at this point, you can put the key down on the table. You can put it on your wallet. We can talk about different types of switches later, with like under the wallet switches, or even just let your spectator hold the key. If you're risky enough, or you feel like that's you're bold enough, go for that as well. You can just put it down. You can put it into your pocket, right? Lots of options, but most importantly is the presentation, right? We want to restore this bill because they are so convinced that you've torn the bill. Let's go ahead and just focus on fixing the bill, right? That's the impossible moment. It's not impossible that the key went through the bill, right? If you're doing your job right, this key has went through the bill, it's created a hole, possibly a tear, and now you're going to just restore that bill. So real slowly and impossibly, the bill restores. Now, of course, I mentioned this before, you can also do this in the spectator's hand, right? It's already folded like this. You can take it, say, hold out your hand, put it here, put your other hand on top, and just rub, right? This is really nice. Magic in the spectators is always a great moment. So if you want to try that, you can do that as well. But I think that covers the second variation of the Swiss key penetration. Let's take a look at another variation in which is more of a melting effect. Let's take a look. So in this case, we're actually going to use a Palmer bill because this isn't going to tear as much as it's going to bend and warp. Let me show you what I mean. So we're going to go ahead and use a key as well for this. Okay, solid. And if I just bend the bill, just like this, okay. Now these are a little bit harder to crease, but to get my point across, I think that looks good. Okay. I'm also going to take the key, okay, and if you just watch closely, place it right about there. Yeah. Actually, it might look a little more clear for you if I do this. Right. So you can see that it's trapped inside of the V-shaped folded bill. What's interesting is if I take it and just start to wiggle like this, you can see it actually breaks through just like that. Of course, leaving the bill unharmed, no extra pieces or slits, and completely examinable. All right, so this is the explanation for the melting variation, okay? So as you guys seen, I did use a Palmer bill for this, which, you know, I just want to talk about this for a moment. I feel like if you're going to be doing a melting effect, it makes sense using a type of material like this because this can't tear or rip, right? So a melting effect I feel like works for both. You can do a melting through paper if you like, but for people who are limited to Palmer bills, I think this is a great effect for this. And I'm going to mention the second variation is also nice when performed slightly differently, which I'll quickly show you guys what I mean with that. But first, let's just take a look at the setup and how we're going to perform this, right? So technically there is no setup, it's just more of getting into the effect. Okay, what you're going to do is you can have your bill pre-folded, which I have it so that I fold it over like this, and then I, you know, depending on what your currency is, maybe it'll be some sort of artwork that you can look at for a cue. In this case, I can see this pearl here in this clamshell, which I know that I have it in the right position, which is going to fold into this V-fold position. Now, of course, you don't need to have this pre-folded at all. You can do it however you like. But for me, I have it set up ready to go. Okay, so you're going to have your key out. It's ready to go like this. You can have it on the table, on your wallet. You can even keep it in your hand while you're folding, okay? Just like this. Now, as soon as it gets to this half fold position, what you're going to be doing is very similar to the other effects, which you're going to sandwich the key kind of deceptively as you're kind of tipped toward yourself. Okay, so again, just kind of loading it, but you guys can see this from the other handlings as well. But you're getting here, you're covering it with your thumb, right? And then basically, because you know it's a limited view for your spectator, you're gonna say, oh, let me put it into this position because it's gonna allow you to see the effect more clearly, right? Which is not really a lie, but it's just a continuation of the pattern and getting into the final position you need to be in, which is this V-fold, okay? Now, an important tip is at this point, you can't really see much of the key. Now, you can keep it in this position if you like, or you can shift it over a little bit, but just making sure it doesn't go over too far because you don't want it to start exposing kind of a teeth on the plate here. Okay, so you want to make sure it's in a position that's not exposing, but also you want to make sure you can see the end of the key, you can see this end of the key, and you're not exposing the gimmick. As long as you have it in this position, which should come pretty natural, you're in a good place. So once you're here, you really want to milk this moment. Okay, you can show that it can move, almost like you're hitting an invisible wall. As you guys know, it's in this position, right? It's in the back of the bill, but your spectator doesn't know that. So you can really kind of milk this moment where it's kind of hitting something, right? Almost like a little bit of a wiggle, right? But once you get into the point where it's melting through, they should all be very quick, a nice sweeping motion where it just melts straight through, right? Like a lot of traditional effects that have done very similar things. Okay, it's a really nice moment, and again, it should just look like this, straight through, and you shouldn't stop, right? At this position, you should just all the way through, right, and let it go all the way through just like that. So that's the basics. Now, you probably heard a little bit of a sound there. This is something that I do suggest performing in a louder environment, so that way you can really avoid that if it does happen. So you can actually, when performing this, let me just get this kind of set up again. You can actually kind of just apply a little bit of pressure when doing this, right? And you can minimize that clicking sound by just keeping a hold of this and then releasing it. So keep that in mind. So it can happen, right? But when performing this, you want to squeeze the gimmick, right? Let them really see it starting to go through all in one quick motion, right? 1, 2, melt it through all the way, keep going, just like that. So it can click, but you know, I think the more you play with this, This isn't actually a variation that I perform a lot. This is actually brought to you by Calvin Liu, one of the Hansen Chen members. And this is something that he really liked because he felt it was very classic, and I know you guys really like this visual. It's very nice. But just keep in mind, the more that you play with this, and by squeezing the key, you can see you can actually dampen that clicking sound. You didn't hear anything that time, right? And then once it's here, and you've cleared the bill, you can release pressure like this, and you're good to go. So I think that's a quick walkthrough of this. I think you guys are gonna like it. If you do, practice it and enjoy. Let's take a look at static key. This is a great effect. This is a lot of fun. Just like a lot of the effects here, it uses a bill. Okay. And we also use a key. So let's take a look at this. This is interesting. Solid key, solid ordinary bill. Very interesting. Check it out. I'm actually going to take the key and try something really interesting here. Let's place it down on my hand. This, and if you've heard of static electricity, it's actually really interesting. And sometimes you can do some things that look very magical. If you just rub it like this, you can see I can actually build up static electricity. Sincerely, look. Build up that static electricity. Actually clings to the bill. Right, so it doesn't always cling, but sometimes you can get it just right. It actually sticks to the bill. Now, I want you to actually feel this. So if I could actually have the cameraman, you want to jump in on this, just hold your hand out. Yeah, I want you to really feel this. So look, I'm going to put it in my hand. Just pinch the key. You got it there? Check this out. Just lift. You can see it's not what I'm doing. It's just that the key is stuck to the bill. It feels cool, doesn't it? It's interesting. It actually goes this little step further. I really want to demonstrate this static to you guys, so I can show you. Watch. Actually, I build up a little bit more static here. Check this out. Whoa. Just like that, you can see it actually does cling right to the bill. And the best part, there's nothing to find, and it's just a key and just a bill. That was static key. Let's learn static key. Let's go. So, obviously, you got your bill in your wallet. Right, as you guys already know, I can mention this before. You could borrow a bill, of course, like any of these effects. But you're going to remove the bill from your wallet. You're going to remove the key, right? And just like all those other effects, it's very, very simple in a sense that you're doing this kind of sandwich maneuver where you're getting into this position, right? But with this one, it's actually a little bit opposite. Instead of getting it here and then secretly getting to this position and making it look like the key is on this side, you're actually going to load it and show that the key is on this side. So technically, you don't have to hide anything, even though I still kind of do, but you don't really need to. You're just taking the key and placing it just like this, and they're seeing the key going just like this, right? You just sort of push this piece too far forward, right? But just enough, and this is going to go by very quickly. This shouldn't be something you delay. This should just be you're here and you're here, right? And all you've done is place the key seemingly on the bill. They don't know that the plate is on this side, okay? And then you're just going to go ahead and place it here and place it in your hand. So it looks like you've done nothing because technically you haven't, besides just, separating the gimmick, right? So when you're in this position, what you're going to be doing is you can kind of just maneuver the key around however you like, whatever makes you feel comfortable. If you want to perform it like this or like this, it doesn't really matter. But what I like to do is get the key so that it's halfway on the bill and halfway off like this, right? So you do want to refrain from picking up the bill prematurely and showing that it's stuck when it shouldn't be, right? So it should just look like the key is on the bill very naturally, okay? Wherever you want to move it, right? But get into position, put it down like this. At this point, all you're going to do is actually push down into your hand so that way the plate is contacting your hand, so that way you can rub around. But what's actually happening is the plate is staying in place. You can see I can rub the key, but the plate doesn't move. That's what's happening here. Okay, and you need to push down fairly hard to do this, but it's very convincing that the key can move, but then somehow be stuck. It seems very supernatural or actually like scientific. Maybe it is static, right? So this is the first phase. You rub, it lifts, right? It's a very nice buildup because right now they think maybe you're doing something. Maybe you're doing something where you're using your other finger or something, even though you can make it look as clear as possible. It doesn't matter. It's a nice, quick effect, but it's not strong enough, not yet. So what I like to do is involve a person, let the magic happen in their hands. So what I do at this point is I just rotate this around, okay? Which if you don't like the way that looks, you can just push this back inside a little bit, then rotate it around, okay? Because depending on whose hand you're gonna be using, you might need to rotate the key. So in this case, I'm gonna use the cameraman, right? And I get it to this position, right? So cameraman, if you could, right? And then you're just gonna pinch that. Okay, so now they have a good grip of this. I place it in my hand. You place your finger on top, so they can't move. They're locked into position, right? But as soon as they start to feel me release pressure, I can tell them they can lift, right? So I just say, go ahead, just lift it up, and I release my pressure along with them, and I get to this really beautiful moment where it's here. And I just say, you can just pause right there. Perfect. Lift up your hand. Now you got this nice moment where the magic is happening between your hands, but in theirs. Super nice moment. At this point, you're just gonna say, let's go back down. Perfect. And you don't make this like a huge deal or something. You just you can just say like, doesn't that feel cool? You say, I really wanted you to experience what that felt like. But I do want to take this a little bit further. Let me show you what I mean. And you get back into that original position. And instead of just doing this again, you're gonna do this. You're gonna say, we're gonna build up more static electricity. And what you're going to do is just by keeping that plate there, by gripping it on your hand, you can separate the key, right? Leaving that plate in the hand secretly. You can put your thumb here if it's a little windy or if you feel like there's a draft. You can always put your thumb on top so it doesn't move. Rub the key on your arm. Okay, now we're going for this big finish here, where now as soon as you bring it close to the bill, this kind of startling thing is going to happen where if you remove your thumb, just get it close, it's going to jump up. This static cling effect is going to happen. So it's almost like this is everything you've been talking about static electricity and stuck and this and that. But now it's like this is what makes this effect concrete, right? For them, they are really going to, this is going to solidify for them where that, he's not lying. He's building up this static electricity. And as soon as it gets close enough to the bill, right, it's almost like alarming, right? And at this point, I just take it, I put it back down, right? You can rub and then just separate. But now you don't want to separate leaving the gimmick underneath. You want to just go ahead and just slide the gimmick right out just like this, right? So you're here, and technically as soon as it goes down, you can just separate, right? So it goes up, it goes down, slide out the gimmick, show underneath the bill because they've been wanting to see underneath the bill possibly the entire time. Not sure, depends on who you're performing for, of course, but it's a nice ending where you get to see both the key, the bill, backside, front side, everything feels so clean. And yeah, I think you guys are really gonna enjoy that. That is Static Key. Let's take a look at one of my favorite effects from Swiss Key, gravitation. Now, it's interesting because with this effect, it's not magical, well, until it becomes magical. Let me explain. Basically, if you take a key and a bill, and you basically just place it in a position where, I'll show you, just like this. If you hold it like that, that's not magical, but it is kind of interesting how it structurally kind of suspends itself just by crimping the bill like this, right? By buckling the bill, it can support the weight of the key, which I just find it interesting. I think the further we take it, the more interesting it becomes, but it's still not magic. But I think I can fix that. If I take this beyond its limits, a place where it really shouldn't be, I think this starts to look a lot more impossible. But now if I lose my focus, you'll see the key comes off the bill, separating seemingly just beautifully, like nothing's connected. And we're left with nothing but a key and a bill, and a very interesting, scientifically magical moment. I think you guys are gonna like it. Let's get into it. All right, so let's learn how to perform gravitation, okay? So just like all the other effects, obviously you need a bill, you need your Swiss key gimmick, and you're gonna do a move very similar that you've learned with all the other effects. This was similar to one of the last things you learned, which is basically just placing it like this and having the plate in the back, right? Pretty standard stuff at this point. But what you're gonna do is you're just gonna hold the bill like this. And just by using your first and second finger and your thumb, creating this kind of V shape, you can see that, it just kind of buckles the bill and obviously supports the key. So this isn't anything special. And I think you guys kind of figure that just by watching the performance. And now that you know the method, it's really interesting. You can take this thing so far. And basically all I'm doing is looking through the hole of the key. And as soon as I see the edge, and that's why I start pulling really slow. Now you guys, it'll be impossible for you guys to see this. But in the keyhole itself, maybe you guys can't see it, I don't know. But as soon as you see the edge, you don't want to go too far. If you're halfway, no way, it's not going to work. Even 75%, nope. You want to be just a hair over. And when you get there, you can see the view of the edge of the bill through the hole, you're in the perfect place. Now, the bill needs to be buckled, right? But also you want to tilt slightly upward, okay? But you also want to keep this kind of below. You want people looking down at this effect because you don't want to flash that the key is separated into two pieces, which as long as they're looking down at this, they're not going to see anything, right? So again, get it to that position, okay? At this point, you can now rest on one finger, lower the finger, wave underneath, wave above, put your hand underneath, and this is kind of the climax of the effect. I think any great kind of tensegrity or balancing effect should end abruptly. So I like to snap, open my hand, and how you trigger this is by simply taking your second finger and just going like this. That's going to destroy the buckle and allow the bill to flop. And when it does that, as long as you're above your hand enough where it has enough room to separate, which I'd say that's almost about a foot, maybe 10 inches or so, it's just going to separate. Now, I do suggest performing this standing up. Sitting down, I have had some struggle with getting it to separate from the bill, and I don't want you guys to experience that. So remember, get to this balancing point like this, right? You're buckling the bill, your finger here underneath, right? This finger is just going to move out of the way, and as long as you're up high enough, okay, it's just going to slip off of the bill, right? And making sure you're far enough as well, like off the bill. So you want to make sure you can just see the edge through the hole, perfect, and just like this, right? It's going to fall, and hopefully you can catch it. But it's just going to land right in your hand like this, ideally, or you could just let this fall onto the table. I think that could actually be quite dramatic. Let's see what that would look like. All right, you're here, you got the bill buckled, all right, let's get that on there, perfect. Okay, and of course, that move is just moving this finger, and even giving a little bit of a downward motion will help. But you can see, just like that. But now doing that on command with a snap is going to have a lot of impact. If it just falls, it looks like the trick messed up. But if you are anticipating and you're having a build-up and you snap your fingers and it falls off after you say something like you heard me say, me losing focus. As soon as I lose focus, right, the energy, it's like it just goes out. So guys, that is gravitation. I think you guys are going to really enjoy playing with this one. And just remember those little subtleties in which are really going to sell this effect. But definitely have fun with it. One of my favorites, gravitation. I'm not going to introduce this effect. I'm just going to show you. But I think by the end of this, you'll know why. So this is the idea. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 keys. And basically, if I remove one of them, okay, and we're going to use a bill, just like all the other effects. And basically, I'm going to take the key and place it on the bill. Actually, I want you to see this, and I think maybe the best view would be like this. So you just can keep your eye on the key the entire time. If I take it, place it inside the bill like this, fold it up. Of course, I want you to really be able to see that key the entire time, so don't take your eye off that. Watch. Real slow. If I did this right, it's either completely crushed or it's completely gone. And if it's gone, it must have gone somewhere. Maybe right where we started. Take a look. Back on the key ring, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 keys. And that was the vanishing key. So for the vanishing key, I'm going to explain this for you guys. This is very simple, but I think what really sells the effect is what you see in the very beginning, which is when I show 4 keys. But in fact, I have 5 keys. Now this is something that's going to go right over the spectator's head, but what I like to do is have it set up where you have the gimmick key on top of your completely examinable, scrutiny-proof key, and then a few other keys. Now it is nice to keep a limited number. You don't want it to be too confusing. So in this case, I've got 5 keys total, but I present it as 4. How I do that is basically just by pulling out the keys. In this position, you can't tell how many keys are there, of course. But what I do is I just move this first key, the gimmick key, out of the way. Just like this, as I kind of just fan the keys up. But I'm doing this up here, like this, right? So I am down here, but I'm gonna come up here so you guys can see it. This is how you're gonna present it, just like this. 1, 2, 3, 4 keys. You don't wanna really emphasize this so much. You just wanna show the keys and say, look, I've got a few keys here. 1, 2, 3, 4 keys. Actually, I only need 1 of them. Right? You can go by very quick and just nonchalant, right? At this point, I put my finger back in and I just let this hidden key coalesce with the other keys. It's like you're doing nothing, you're not hiding anything. At this point, you're gonna go ahead and remove that key, okay? And just placing these keys down on the table, or you can even have them hold on to the keys. You can say, here, keep these safe for me, put them in your pocket, okay? But yeah, I'm just gonna place them down here for now. I think this could work really great on video, where the key's just up here on the top. It's, out of view, but their focus is not here, their focus is here, right? And their focus is now gonna be inside the wallet, right? So at this point, you're gonna remove a bill or borrow a bill, whatever you want. And you're gonna do the same thing you've done with a lot of these effects, which is this secret move in which you're going to get into this position, get here. Of course, you're doing this out of view, sliding it to here, right? Showing them this vision, which doesn't give a lot of clarity. So you shift to here. Looks very clean. They see a key, they see a bill, and you're just gonna just position it like this, right? So it's not going up and down like the other effect, but side to side, right? And it's past the midpoint, so that way when you fold it in half, right, it should be inside the bill like this, but obviously you know the secret, it's not, right? It's hidden just like so. At this point, I'm gonna use my thumb, and I'm actually gonna push and squeeze and slide this out of the way as I'm opening this. So it's actually like I'm kind of opening this first, right? But I'm sliding this simultaneously. So I get into this position here. So I've already stolen out the key. Obviously, you guys see me take that. Again, here as I open, I slide out the key, right? But that's happening in this position. So there's nothing that's happened yet, okay? This is, you can just sit here and palm this and there's nothing to run from because they can see the key still, right? You haven't done anything. So at this point, what I would do on video is I would just put this down on my wallet and maybe push the wallet off to the side. But in real life, performing this for somebody, I'd probably pick up my wallet and put it in my back pocket. Just ditching this gimmick temporarily and just getting rid of it, okay? So now at this point, all you're gonna do is you're going to close up the bill, okay? You're in a very clean position. There's nothing to run from. There's no way that you can make that key go anywhere because both hands are in view. And you're just going to crumple this up inside your hand. Just crush it, right? And just slowly open your hand. Okay, if you need to crush it a little bit more, you can crush it a little bit more. Of course, all that's in there is the plate, and obviously there's no way a full-sized key could be hidden inside of here. But I think it's important at this point just to immediately shift all focus back to the keys, right? And how I kind of present that is by saying, well, either the key has crushed down completely and bent, or it's vanished, or it's gone. And if it's gone, well, it has to have gone somewhere. And I just say, in this case, it goes right back to where we started. Now, of course, I could point at the keys or whatever, but if I say right back to where it started, they're going to look at the keys. Now, if I point at their pocket or if I point at their hand, they're going to open up their hand and see that that key is back. And now you can see why it was important to kind of talk about how there is only 4 keys, right? It's very subtle, but it's going to create a little bit more impact when they see that there's only 4 keys or 3 keys or even 2 keys, whatever you choose. But yeah, either way, that is the vanishing key. But some quick little side notes on this. Just something I do want to mention. Let's say you want to examine the key. I almost forgot. If you want to examine, sorry, not the key, but the bill. Okay, because obviously the key is examinable. You've already ditched the gimmick. But there is a little piece inside here. Sometimes when I crumple it, you can catch a little glimpse of where the gimmick is hiding, right? Sometimes when you crumple it, because it is on the edge, you can kind of catch a little glimpse of it. Not for the audience, but for you. You'll kind of see where it is. Sometimes you can just use gravity and let it fall out, right? It'll just kind of fall out on its own, but you can't really rely on that. So what you're going to do is take that glimpse of where you can see it and just put your thumb in there on it as you uncrumple, right? As you open the bill, and just try to keep track of where it is, right? So as long as you have your thumb on there, you can open this like this, right? And just slide it out like that. Get it into a finger palm, right? So just sliding it out, getting it to this position, squeeze tight, and you shouldn't have any problems at this point. From here, you can hand it out. Another idea is you can actually have a duplicate crunched up bill. So let's say you have another bill all crumpled up. You can have this in one of your pockets. So that way you've got your gimmick bill, or not your gimmick bill, but your dirty bill with a gimmick inside of it. You can also switch this, right? Just using any type of method you want. You can have this in your lap if you're performing down here. You can now lap this like this and say, hey, you can even check out the bill. There's so many different things you can do with this. I think a great way to do it is you can have the keys, you put your keys in your back pocket, right? And as you rotate your body and put the attention on the keys, you can ask their spectator to grab them. Say, I don't even want to touch the keys, you grab them. In that moment, you can switch the dirty bill for the clean bill by simply just putting it in your pocket and removing the clean one. So that had to include that. I had to make you guys feel really good about that and just give you some options. But finally, that is the vanishing key. All right, check it out, guys. This one is called Key Dissolve. I'm going to use a key, of course, and a bill. So let's take out a bill. Perfect. Of course, like a lot of these effects, you could borrow a bill. This is the idea. You're going to take the key and the bill, and we're going to place it just here. Let me give you a better view so you guys can see this very clearly. Watch the key. Just going to place it in front of the bill and pinch the bottom of the key. But check this out. So he starts to look like that key is vanishing, but it's not vanishing. It's actually pushing itself through the bill very slowly. Just to that last second, you can see it's gone completely through the bill, just like that. That is Key Dissolve. Here's the explanation for the Key Dissolve. So, of course, you're going to need a bill and a key. All right, and you're going to do that same move that you've used for a majority of these routines, where you're just going to go ahead and load the key, right? Get it into this position, which obviously you're doing with cover. All right, at this point, you're just going to then shift upward, right? Making sure not to flash, but it's going to be a little bit difficult. Not always, but just remember you're going to kind of do this at a constant speed. I didn't really mention this, but I think it's important that when you go from this position to this position, you're not doing it in this tight space. You're actually going to go from here and then you're going to go up, right? You're going to go all the way up. And this big motion is actually going to cover that. So keep that in mind. Just want to mention that. All right, so at this point, you're going to tell them to watch the key and you're going to then shift it, right, inside the bill, right? So make sure it's in good position. You're going to shift it into the bill like this, making sure to cover it. Okay, you're going to now immediately grab the bottom of the key, even though it's not there, it's on the back of the bill. You're going to tell them you're just going to grab the bottom of the key. And at this point, I just start to move like this. So this hand is actually moving. This hand is still. Okay, and what's happening is I'm going, now you can move this hand or this hand, it doesn't matter. But I just like this initial movement of like this. And you start to show less and less of the key, or sorry, more and more, and it looks like you're seeing less and less of the key. It almost looks like the key is vanishing, right? And you can even say that, you can say it looks like the key's vanishing, but it's not. At this point, I pinch. Now you can either shift back to here, which I feel like feels a little more natural. You're gonna pinch here. It looks like, again, most of the key has vanished, but you're now gonna show them this really interesting moment where you rotate like this. Okay? At this point, you can now grab the key again from the bottom, right? And all you're going to do is just simply remove this by just swiping upward, right? But you can't go too far because you need to still be in contact with the key or it'll fall off, right? So you're actually only going to move this very little. It's like you're here, you're here, your hand covers it, you get there. That's it. It's just going from there to there. But it should look like it's completely dissolved. And what's great about this is all you have to do now is just go down and show them the whole key. And basically just by pushing this over and letting it connect again, like this, you can show there's nothing in this hand. And then immediately separating this from the bill, right? Without revealing that, just like this, just timing it just right, it looks so clean. Like there really is nothing on the other side of the bill. So this is a very quick effect, but I think you guys are gonna have a lot of fun performing it, and especially practicing it, making sure you get the timing and the choreography perfect. But yeah, that was Key Dissolve. Let's take a look at a simple effect called Zigzag, which surprisingly doesn't use a bill, just the key. So let's check it out. It's going to remove one key. And actually, so this is a super classic effect in Magic in which you take a key or a lady in a box or really anything, and you can actually create the illusion that a solid object can zigzag into two. Now this is a very strange illusion, especially when you know that the object is completely solid. Just like that. One solid key. That is Zigzag. Let's learn how to perform Zigzag. So first and foremost, this is an idea by my good friend Angelo Carbone. He's always been a big fan of the plot of the zigzag box illusion, or the cutting the lady in half. So it'd be natural when you get this gimmick in your hand to kind of come up with a zigzag effect. This is a very quick effect. This isn't something that is a standalone effect that's really going to get a lot of attention, but I do believe it could mesh well into some of the other routines if it's your style. So feel free to explore this. So the method is very simple, and I'm actually going to show you there's 2 ways to do this. But essentially how I do it is I just hold the key like this. I secretly push this forward a little bit, and I go around like this till it gets to this point. So the idea is that it's coming out, it's going around, and then in this position, right? So you're kind of just doing this secretly, right? So once you're here, you're just now going to grab the key like this. You're going to rotate it around like this, and you're hiding the entirety of the key behind your hand. All they can see is the gimmick plate, right? So they know you haven't like switched it or done anything strange yet. You're just in this position. At this point, you're not going to grab the end of the key, because if you did, the key would look a little too long. So you're actually going to grab just a little bit, maybe grab 1/4 of the key and hide it like this. So now you're in this position here, okay? Just like so. Very simply, you're just going to shift the key over like this, which creates this quick kind of optical interesting thing, right? It's this classic zigzag effect, and then you're going to shift it back. Now, a kind of an interesting presentation is you can say this key is solid, it can't bend, but it can shift. And you say it's an illusion. You could just say that. You could simply say it's an illusion, it's not really happening, but it's very convincing. Okay, once you get here, all I do is I just bring my fingers back, and as you come down, you're simply just going to let this coalesce. Let the magnet bring itself in, right? And that's it, right? And then quickly, I just want to mention the way that Angelo was performing this, and I think he had a really good point, was he basically would shift this gimmick out of the key like this, and he would rotate it around. So basically, it could get into this position. So if I can just expose this to, it's in this position naturally, right? That's where it wants to click in, but he rotates it around the key and gets it into this position, which is interesting because it just kind of holds itself in place. But what's the benefit to this is basically when you're doing the zigzag, you get this really kind of interesting kind of snapback moment. Let me show you. So you can perform the zigzag, but now what's cool is when you come back, it kind of snaps back into position, and then you can move it again, right? So it's like defying, you know, it's almost like you're solidifying that magic moment. So it's like zigzag, come back, and it's impossibly back. So it's like you can almost do this like a couple times, like you're here, you're here, you're here, you're here, right? So it's just an interesting take. Again, this was Angelo's idea. This is how he performed it. It is going to be a little bit more difficult to perform, but if you're interested in the effect and you like this kind of premise, feel free to explore it. That was Zigzag. All right, so for this last effect, I've got my friend Phoenix here.
Okay.
And we're going to do something really interesting. I need your help. This only works with performing it for somebody, so I think you're going to enjoy this. So I've got some keys here. I'm just going to use one of them in a minute, but I also want to use something of yours. Would you happen to have a coin on you? If not, I've got one, but do you have something?
Coin.
A coin. Any coin will work.
Any coin.
Any coin.
How about this?
Oh, well, look at that. He's got a coin. Amazing. So we've got something of yours, and we've got something of mine. Okay, let me just remove this. Right. So, we've got a key, we've got a coin. Looks good?
That's good.
This is the idea. I'm going to move very slowly. Okay? I'm going to put the key and the coin in my hand. Do me a favor. Name one.
Anyone?
Anyone.
Anyone?
Yes.
I would like to have a key
The key.
so I can open your door.
All right.
A key.
The key, are you sure? Positive. Okay, so look, make sure, keep me honest here. Just the key.
Just a key.
Just the key. Ready? Watch. The coin will completely disappear.
Wait, where's my coin?
Leaving it with just, well, no, I thought you wanted the key. It's like an even trade.
Where's my coin?
Okay, well, I'll tell you what. Actually, I'll show you where it went. It actually traveled into my pocket.
I got money.
Well, I might have switched the coin. Maybe this isn't your coin. So let's do this super fair. Here, let's actually have you sign the coin. Yeah. Do me a favor, sign the coin. Good? Good. Okay. Same thing. Now, you have your choice. Okay, you don't have to say one or the other. This is 100% your choice. Key or coin, choose one.
This time I want coin.
Coin?
Yeah, I want my coin.
You want to make sure you get your coin back, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So this time, I'm not even going to touch my hand. Seriously. Here, get close. I don't want you to miss this. 3, 2, 1.
Come on, where is my coin?
Gone.
Where's my coin?
You don't know where it went?
No.
Well, it's your coin, right?
That's my coin.
Check your shoulder. Right?
What?
Not bad, huh?
Not bad. Are you sure this is my coin?
Yes, and you can have the coin, but you can't have my key.
Oh, this is my coin.
That's it.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your question.
Let's learn the sign coin to anywhere. Okay? So obviously we need the Swiss key gimmick, right? Which I just start on the key ring so that way you can introduce it very organically. And you can borrow a coin, but you do want to try to find a coin that is similar in size. So maybe like a US quarter would work great. I think there's a lot of coins out there that are roughly the same size as this insert. Okay, as long as it's silver, that's really all you need and roughly the same size. Okay, so you can borrow this or you can just supply the coin yourself. It really doesn't matter because you're gonna have it signed for the second phase and it's gonna be super convincing and awesome. So let's go, let's start from here. So one of the first things you're gonna do, the first move is basically this. You're going to make sure that you have your gimmick side towards you. So I know if I push on the hole, I can slide this gimmick back like this. Okay? Once you slide it out like this secretly, and you're just going to hold this at your fingertips, you can just see the key, but you can't see that I've slid this piece out obviously. All you're going to do is switch hands. So you're going to slide the key behind the coin, right? Switching hands. And what this is doing is allowing the gimmick, right, the plate to slide behind the coin like this. Okay, so that's all you've done. You just switched hands. Here we are. Now, you can take the coin, place it in your hand if you want to show it like this. Okay, and then what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to turn it over, right, like this, and get it into this position. Now, because of the sticker, you can briefly show this, but I like to kind of keep it in kind of a Ramsey subtlety. They know that it's in your hand, so you can just kind of, don't be so showing with this, right? If you are, show this side, right? Show them this side. Get here. Okay, good. Now, what it's going to look like is that you're just putting the coin into the hand with the key, but what you're really doing is just pushing forward like this, right? From this position where they can see the coin to this position, okay? And what you're going to do is basically toss what appears to be the coin into your hand with the key. But all you're doing is sliding this forward in a throwing motion like this, like just a little tossing motion. So it should look like this. That's it. Because of the audible sound, they're going to be so convinced that you've got two objects in your hand. So there's really nothing to run from. Right? So if I just start from the top, you're here, you come up, you get ready, you're in your ready position, you switch hands like this, you show the key over here, you get it in its ready position, you supposedly toss the coin into your hand, but again, you're just pushing this forward and tossing this. And all you need to do is toss this anywhere near the key, and it's just going to stick in just like that. The magnet will attract, and that's it. You're gonna get that nice audible sound, super convincing, and close your hand. Okay? So real quick, you're here, you're here, you're here. Just toss it in like this. Now at this point, you're gonna ask them to name an object, a coin or a key. It's completely up to them. It doesn't matter what they name, just do the magician's force. It's magician's choice, right? So if they say the key, you take out the key. If they name the coin, you say, great, focus on the coin. I'm just going to remove the key. I'm going to leave the coin in my hand. Don't take your eye off of it. And now the coin has vanished, right? Because they named the coin, you made it vanish. If they name the key, you take out the key and you make it about the key making the coin vanish, right? Either way, something amazing is happening, right? Now, you ask them, do you know where the coin went? The coin's obviously here, but all you do is just say, well, it actually goes back to my pocket or appears in my pocket. Great. Now, you can say something like, well, you know what, I might have switched something around, or how do you know this isn't the same coin? So this time, I'm gonna have you sign the coin, right? So now they're gonna go ahead and sign it, right? Now you're gonna do the exact same thing again, right? So you show that signature, you get in your ready position with your key, okay, same exact thing, goes inside the hand. This time, I want you to name another object. You can name the same object, you can name the key, the coin, completely up to you. They name an object, but this time, instead of actually touching your hand, you're gonna make it more impossible by not touching anything. Because now, you have their signed coin here, just like before, but now you can load this anywhere. So you guys see me load this onto their shoulder, which is super easy to do. You know, you just grab their shoulder and you just say anything to them like, watch closely, right? Or here, come a little closer, and just take this and load it on their shoulder. Another thing you can do is if they're wearing a watch, you can actually say, do me a favor, grab my wrist. I don't want to touch it. When they grab your wrist, all you do is take the coin, load it underneath their watch, and say, just, you know, make sure I don't come anywhere near my hand. That's it. Load it underneath their watch. If this is something you really like, you can check out more videos on YouTube on how to load coins under watches or cards under watches. Very simple, but keep in mind that this coin is secretly in this hand. They are super convinced that you have both the key and the coin in this hand, and because you're not coming anywhere near it, it is completely impossible. Like I said, this can get loaded under a watch, on their shoulder, back to your pocket, you know, slipped into their pocket. Really, you can get super creative with this and just do anything with it. I mean, you could even do something like just come here and just kind of make it seem like it's coming out of the hand like that. It's really up to you, however you want to do it. But I think the true value here is this move, right? Where it's so convincing that they can see the coin, they can see the key, they can hear them in the hand, and somehow you've got that coin out of your hand. So guys, keep in mind this is super deceptive. This is a lot of fun. Get creative with it. This was the signed Coin to Anywhere. All right, guys, so that is a wrap for Swiss Key. First and foremost, I want to thank you guys so much for checking out this product, and I hope you guys got as much out of it, and that you will get as much out of it as I have over the years. This has been something that I've just enjoyed so much, between all the different applications and just, I guess, the cleanliness of the effect and the organic sense of it all, which I think you guys are all going to really appreciate. So with that said, I also want to make sure you guys are getting the most out of Swiss Key. So if you're having any issues with it at all, I mean, it could be anything, feel free to contact me on my Instagram at Nicholas Lawrence Presents, or feel free to reach out to Hansen Chen Productions customer support. You can always get a hold of us and talk us through anything, any issues you're having. But I think first and foremost, if you go back and just watch the tutorial, everything will be there. But again, the door is always open. So thank you guys again so much. I hope you guys enjoyed everything that was taught. This was Swiss Key.